The sound hit first, not the silence at the end, the roar before it. 101,915 people packed into Neyland Stadium, checkerboard orange and white, waiting for Georgia to crack. Tennessee had the lead early, had the momentum late, had the field and the noise and the quarterback playing out of his mind. According to Tennessee's official recap, it was a sellout Checker Neyland crowd of 101,915. This was the Big Orange at full volume, the kind of place that swallows visiting teams whole. Then Georgia handed the game to a running back who barely looked like the star of the afternoon, and Josh McCray walked into the end zone from 1 yard out and turned all that noise into a stunned, empty feeling. That is what makes this one stick. Georgia did not control the day the way a top program usually wants to. Kirby admitted as much right after the game. According to the Associated Press, he said, "We're not going to go down without a fight," and then said something even more revealing. He did not think Georgia should have won because Tennessee outplayed the Bulldogs in a lot of ways. Coaches usually protect the image after a win. Smart did the opposite. He made the victory feel more raw, more honest. Georgia was not the cleaner team, it was the team that survived. That matters when you are telling the story of an unlikely hero, because unlikely heroes rarely arrive in tidy games. They show up when the favorite is wobbling, when the plan is fraying, when the only thing left is nerve. For a while, Tennessee looked ready to turn Neyland into a party. The Vols exploded to a 21-7 lead in the first quarter. Joey Aguilar completed his first 14 passes for 213 yards and 2 touchdowns, and the Associated Press noted that he became the first SEC quarterback to open 14 for 14 in 20 seasons. He finished with 371 passing yards, 4 touchdown throws, and a rushing score. Chris Brazel III kept ripping through Georgia with touchdown catches of 72, 14, and 66 yards. When Braylon Staley scored from 32 yards out early in the fourth quarter, Tennessee was back in front 35-30 with 11:01 left. That was not a polite football game. That was a heavyweight fight with both corners landing clean shots. Georgia kept getting hit, and Tennessee kept hearing the crowd tell them the knockout was close. The strange part is that McCray barely looked like the central figure until the game demanded one. According to Dawg, Georgia finished with 502 total yards on 87 plays, and the offense had answers all day, even while the scoreboard kept tilting back toward Tennessee. Gunner Stockton threw for 304 yards and 2 touchdowns and ran for another. He was the one operating the machine. Nate Frazier was the one providing juice in the run game. Dawn of the Dawg noted that Frazier carried 14 times for 73 yards, while McCray saw just 7 carries. 7! That is what an improbable role looks like. Not 30 touches, not a full afternoon built around him, just a handful of chances and the expectation that when his number came up near the goal line, he had to be heavy enough, calm enough, and mean enough to finish. That is why the final sequence feels so right for a player like McCray. The stars set the table, the grinder ate the meal. Tennessee got the first points in overtime on a 42-yard Max Gilbert field goal, taking a 41-38 lead. Georgia got the ball and immediately found a seam when Nate Frazier ripped off a 21-yard run on the first snap of the extra period. Dawg described the rest like a blunt force trauma report. Frazier for 21, McCray for 3, then McCray from the 1 for the win. No poetry in the design, just pressure football. Bodies leaning into bodies, legs driving under a pile. When the ball crossed the plane, Georgia had its 9th straight win over Tennessee, according to the Associated Press, and Neyland had its answer. The hero was not the quarterback who threw for more than 300 yards. It was the back trusted to move the last yard when everyone in the building knew what was coming. That last part matters more than people admit. 1 yard sounds small on paper. In a packed stadium, in overtime, against a ranked rival, 1 yard can feel like a hallway that never ends. Every defender knows the run might be coming. Every fan rises before the snap. Every lineman understands that a bad first step will live on film forever. He still got it done. SEC Sports noted that he scored twice in the game, including the winner in overtime. Dawn of the Dog pointed out that he turned those 7 carries into 2 touchdowns in what was essentially his first real action of the season. That is not a volume star line. That is something else. That is a role player stepping into the brightest minute of the game and leaving with the image everyone remembers.
Georgia needed that kind of nerve because Tennessee kept refusing to fade. Even after the Bulldogs climbed back, the Vols found another punch. Even after Georgia answered, Neyland kept swelling again. That is what made Stockton's late drive so important. Trailing 38-30 with 2:32 left in regulation, he hit London Humphreys on a 4th down fade for a 28-yard touchdown. Then Georgia converted the 2-point try to tie it for the 3rd time, according to the Associated Press. Smart later said Stockton grew up tonight. That line did not just praise a quarterback, it described the emotional reality of the game. Georgia had to grow up in public, fast, in a hostile stadium, against an offense lighting up the secondary early, against the pressure of seeing a streak, a ranking, and an SEC opener wobble all at once. There's another layer to this game, and it helps explain why Georgia people will remember McCray. According to Georgia's official site, the Bulldogs kept coming back in a game that bent in every direction. According to a later Georgia game preview on the school site, Stockton passed his first SEC road start by leading Georgia to that 44-41 overtime win before that 101,915 crowd. Dawg Nation focused on the physical presence McCray brought, describing him as a 240-pound transfer from Illinois who powered Georgia to the goal line before finishing the job. That combination tells the story pretty well. Stockton had to keep the offense alive. Frazier had to create the opening. McCray had to become the hammer. Football likes to pretend every moment belongs to one hero. Real football is usually messier. The final image belongs to one man, but it gets built by a chain of strain. And still, the memory settles on McCray because of where it happened. Neyland is not just loud, it is theatrical. Tennessee had the quarter that every home crowd dreams about, jumping ahead 21-7. The Vols had a kicker lining up for a 43-yard field goal at the end of regulation with a chance to win, and the kick went wide right, according to AP and ESPN. They even got the first points in overtime anyway. For Georgia to walk out with the win after all that, in that building, after trailing repeatedly, turns the moment into something more than a good road victory. It becomes a theft. Tennessee had the script in its hands. Georgia took the final page and wrote a different ending with a 1-yard run. That is probably why some of the strongest Georgia reactions after the game did not sound polished. Dawn of the Dog framed it as Tennessee crumbling late while Georgia escaped. Dog Post called it ripping Tennessee's heart out in an epic overtime thriller. Those are fan site words, sure, but they capture the emotional truth better than sanitized language ever could. Georgia did not stroll into Knoxville and impose order. Georgia absorbed the best Tennessee had, let the game become uncomfortable, and then found one more push when the Vols couldn't find one more stop. When you win that way, the touchdown score turns into a symbol. McCray becomes the body attached to the feeling every Georgia fan had watching that last snap. Just get us 1 yard. There's also something deeply Georgia about winning ugly and still leaving with proof of identity. Smart said his team would not go down without a fight. The box score backs him up. Georgia was down big early, then down again in the second half, then down again late, and still finished. The Bulldogs ran for just 77 yards in the first half, according to the Associated Press, but they kept leaning on the game anyway. They were not clean, they were not comfortable, they were not dominant in the way rankings suggest a top 10 team should be. They were stubborn. Sometimes that is the truest form of identity a team can show in September, especially on the road in the SEC. Anybody can look powerful when the script behaves. Georgia looked dangerous when the script broke. So when people replay this one, they'll mention the headline first. Josh McCray, 1-yard touchdown, overtime, Georgia 44, Tennessee 41. But the image underneath the headline is what gives it life. More than 101,000 people dressed for celebration, a rival quarterback lighting up the game, a home team that kept grabbing back the lead, a Georgia team told over and over that this was the drive where it would finally break. Then the ball goes to a back with 7 carries on the day, a back whose biggest job was not to be flashy, but to be final. He lowered his shoulders, crossed the line, and for one beat, the loudest place in Tennessee felt like it had been unplugged. If you're talking about Bulldog football, that's the kind of road win people carry with them. If you're talking about Josh McCray, that's the day he stopped being a supporting name and became the reason Neyland went quiet. Subscribe, hit like, and tell me where you watched that finish from.